welcome to our March 2025 book review. If you're new to this platform, we welcome you warmly to the TRI-METROPOLITAN Book Club platform. We usually hold reviews every third Saturday of the month, and this is our March 2025 book review. We have our guest here already, Mrs. Funke Okoya. But before I introduce her or welcome her formally to the platform, let me tell us in 1 minute a little bit about the TRI-METROPOLITAN Book Club, because some of us may be wondering, because we're logging in, we're tuning in for the very first time. So the TRI-METROPOLITAN Book Club is an initiative of Trinity House. But you may be wondering, who is Trinity House or what's Trinity House? I'm sure most of us have heard about Trinity House. Is a church. So it's a non-denominational, free-flow worship center powered with a vision to changing lives, fulfilling destinies, and transforming nations. So that's Trinity House, and we're located at Trinity Avenue, Water Corporation Drive, Oniru, Victoria Island. But because of the coastal routes, you may not be able to come in through Water Corporation Drive. So you have to go through the Lekki-Epe Expressway and turn in on the right to Pinnacle Petrol Station, and you can come straight down to Trinity House. Just in case you want to join us for service tomorrow, our senior pastor is Pastor Itwa Olajide Igodalu. So this is a book club. It was actually birthed a few years ago. We started with a TRI-METROPOLITAN club, and it's a social gathering, basically for everybody, just to hang out on Fridays and just to generally have fun. So we've had different hangouts in different places, at 4 Point Hotel, at the Art Hotel, at the Lagos Motorboat Club. We have some Christmas parties. We've done the Landmark Beach. We just generally have fun. But guess what? A few years ago, COVID happened and we couldn't hang out. So we thought, how are we going to go about it? And then we decided, we can't just limit ourselves to the physical meetings. Let's do something a little bit different where we can all see ourselves or meet virtually. And that was when we thought about the book club. So we started the TRI-METROPOLITAN Club, and then the TRI-METROPOLITAN Book Club, which is a subset of the TRI-METROPOLITAN Club. So even in November, we had fun at the Art Hotel opposite City of David on Labiodun Yesufu in Oniru. It was a really nice time. We reviewed the book, of course, but we had fun eating, dancing, just generally, having fun and all of that, meeting each other. Most of the time we're just here virtually, but sometimes we meet physically so that we can put faces to our names. So I will tell you a little bit more later about the book reviews. We review different kinds of books. I'm sure you may have questions. We review motivational books, leadership books, lifestyle books, educational books, memoirs, like today that we're going to talk about Mrs. Okoya's personal and professional life. She's going to tell us a little bit of the lessons that she has learned over the years, almost 30 decades in her professional life. And of course, her personal life. She celebrated her golden jubilee in November last year. I was there. We had fun. We partied. And of course, she launched this book. And your delectable moderator was privileged to have reviewed the book on that day. So without much further ado, let me quickly introduce our guest so that she can come to the platform and speak to us for the next 45 minutes. So who is Mrs. Okoya? She's a trailblazing investment banker and a visionary leader. Mrs. Okoya is a distinguished investment banker, a board member, and a strategic leader with over 27 years of experience shaping the financial and banking sector. As the founder of Ren Acquire Limited and former executive director of Nova Bank, she has established herself as a formidable force in investment banking, earning recognition for her expertise, her leadership, and of course, her influence. Funke Okoya's career is a testament to excellence and innovation in merchant and investment banking. Her journey is not just a personal success story, but an inspiration for aspiring professionals in the industry. At Nova Bank, where she was an executive director, she played a pivotal role in expanding and overseeing the wholesale and investment banking division, while also serving as the executive compliance officer. Her leadership was instrumental in driving growth, ensuring regulatory excellence, and of course, enhancing operational efficiency. Funke Okoya with a wealth of experience across top financial institutions, she has held several high-profile roles, including board member Novo Bank, as explained or as mentioned earlier, director, client origination and coverage, Emerging Africa Capital Group, also deputy general manager and group head of corporate banking at Coronation Merchant Bank, of course, before she moved to Nova Bank as an executive director. She was also group head commercial banking in Access Bank. She worked as a business manager back then at UBA. And of course, she was a risk officer in EcoBank, Nigeria. Her leadership across these institutions has driven innovation, strategic expansion, and financial transformation, cementing her status as a powerhouse in the banking sector. I'm happy she's my friend. Well, her impact extends globally. She was appointed a member of the International Advisory Board of Business School Netherlands in October 2022, where she continues to influence policy and education in the financial sector. So this is beyond her corporate achievements. She's a passionate advocate for gender diversity and financial inclusion. At some time in 2022, she was actually appointed the chairperson of the Women's Empowerment Commission of Women in Finance Nigeria, a role that underscores her commitment to advancing financial literacy, professional development, and gender parity. You know, I have a catalog of her resume, but if I say I should continue reading it out and equipping you with information, we may be eating into our time for the book review. But she's described as a trailblazer in gender diversity, sustainability, and female inclusion. Ladies and gentlemen, Mrs. Funke Okoya remains a driving force in reshaping the financial landscape and mentoring the next generation of leaders. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, I know you can't put your hands together, but I'm doing that on your behalf. Please welcome with me, Mrs. Funke Gloria Okoya. Thank you very much, Funke, for coming and for, listening to me that you will review this very fantastic book in this month of March. I know you've been busy, and I also know you cannot say no to me. So I really, really appreciate the fact that you could come on the platform. Thank you very much, Funke. And of course, as you know, I've read the book over and over again, apart from the fact that I reviewed the book in November during your 50th birthday. So thank you once again, Funke, for coming to the TRI-METROPOLITAN Book Club platform. And Funke has always been like a partner. She's always here for the book reviews. So, I really, really appreciate your commitment to the book club. And yeah, once again, I say welcome. So the floor is yours, Funke. Thank you, Mrs. Okoya.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Tomi. I call her Dr. Tomero. Dr. Tomi is, in fact, I don't think this book review would have been possible without the inspiration I got from Dr. Tomi. I know Dr. Tomi can be very humble about it, but she actually wrote a book like 3 years ago. And when that happened, I was highly inspired. Not only does she have a doctorate degree, but she could actually also write a book. That inspired me, and I thank you so much for the honor. Thanks for bringing me on board for this book review. I'd like to start by saying that I'm extremely excited today. This is really home for me. I'm a member of TRI-METROPOLITAN. There's virtually no book review I do not attend, and it has really helped me significantly over the years. And I would say kudos to TRI-METROPOLITAN Group, and also under the leadership of Pastor Itua Igodalu. This is a fantastic vision, and I believe that it should even go beyond the shores of Africa. I'm being spiritual now. I think we should start looking at taking this on an international level, because there's so much this can give to the general populace. Thank you once again. Thank you for having me. Dr. Tomeru has given me a very, very tough task. It's summarizing a 50-year journey in less than 45 minutes. This is something that God will help me, Holy Spirit will help me to summarize that in 45 minutes. Now, I'm going to quickly share my slides. I hope we can see it. Sorry, can you see my screen?
Yes, yes, we can. I can.
Okay, excellent. So, right. Right, please hold on. Trying to move. Okay, it's working now. Yeah, good. Okay. First and foremost, the reality is that this book would not have come to life if not for the grace of Almighty God. And I'd like to first of all acknowledge the grace of God over my life and over my family. But for God, this story would not have been written. This is the testament to the fact that with God, nothing is impossible. The essence of this memoir is to encourage every one of us. I know that life is a journey, and what is important is how resilient are we? When we see obstacles, what do we do? How do we face challenges? Because the truth is that challenges will always come, but what is important is your attitude and how you are able to put it back to God and rely on Him to make sure that you sail through effectively and in line with His plan and His will for you. The reason why I decided to write this book is not far-fetched. I remember sometime early last year, I was in between, should I celebrate my birthday, my 50th? I wanted to keep a low profile and I wanted to celebrate my birthday. And so I was in between both areas. And the Holy Spirit ministered to me and said that the only reason why it will allow me to celebrate my 50th is if I'm able to do something that would impact lives. And that's how the idea of writing a book that talks about my journey, how I started off. And I'll quickly take us through that journey. But before I do that, I want to share two good news with us. One of it is about this book. I want to emphasize that this is not just a book, it's not just a memoir, it's a divine memoir. And I will explain to you why. Because up until last year, if anybody told me that by my 50th birthday, I would be an author, I probably have said it's impossible. Because if I looked at the scope of work, how busy I was, I barely had time for myself. It was almost impossible for me to write that book. But the truth is, I've always known something, and I want to share with everyone that once there's a will, there's always a way. You have to ask yourself, what are your plans? What are your goals? And how dogged are you towards achieving those goals? Once there is a will to achieve those goals, I can assure you from experience that there will always be a way. Then the second thing is, the other inspiration was that this book, the proceeds of this book, 100% of the proceeds of this book is going to educating the less privileged, those that are challenged in going to school locally, secondary school, primary school, and university. And I'm so excited to tell you today that to the glory of God, we have been able to impact about 200 people, 200 lives in Nigeria. I thank God for that. And I thank God for the vision to write this book. Now, Grace to Glory largely is a memoir of success, talks about my experience largely around prayers, my faith in God and ability to grow significantly in my career. There's a lot of lessons that you would learn from reading this book. I started off by saying that this book is it's not an ordinary book, it's a divine book because of the inspiration came from God. And it's actually structured in three major phases: my childhood, my university life, marriage, and of course, when I started work. The reality in life is that every journey starts from a point. There is a starting point to every journey. And one thing I can tell you is that I've been so fortunate that when I grew up, by age 9, I lost my dad, and that was a defining moment for me. I actually felt that, life was over for me. As a young child, I had very big dreams. I had very big, very audacious dreams as a young child. And my father being the breadwinner, passed on. You can see I'm still a bit teary after for almost 42 years. It was a tough moment for my siblings and I. We're 6 of us and my mom. And at that time, it looked as if, would anything good come out of this family? Would anything good come out of this life? Especially for me, being the youngest, it was tough. I looked around. First thing that occurred to me was, will I be able to go to school? Maybe that's one of the reasons why I have a bit of bias for supporting those that are less privileged in going to school. But one thing I can thank God for is the very strong family values that we're brought up with. My mom she's late now. She was a prayer warrior. At that time, when I was growing up, it didn't make sense to me. I was always wondering why she's always praying. This man, she can pray 24 hours in a day. And interestingly, today, I just love prayers. I love praying. I like being in the presence of God. If you give me a task, tell me to pray for the next 20 hours, I don't see it as work. I'll actually be excited about it. And that is because of the foundation that I have, to the glory of God. Now, the reality again is that the beginning of a thing isn't or shouldn't determine the end of it, but it is also sets the foundation to how the future would look. Now, when I started growing up as a young child, one thing was very, very clear to me. I actually lived in denial of the fact that my dad died from age 9. I didn't like the fact that people would look at me and say, oh, our father is late. So for up to like 15 years, I kept on telling my friends that my dad was not in town, my dad was out of the country. It was a subject I just couldn't talk about because I was very emotional about it. And it took a lot of grace. One of the other things that happened to me as a young child, at a young stage, was which was a very good thing. I gave my life as young as at age 12. And how did this happen? Shortly after my dad passed on, we had a near-death incident where some thieves came to our house. I think I was about 10 years old then. And they told us we were going to kill all of us. And we all went to my mom's room. We were about my mom, my siblings, and a few other close relatives. We were about 10 in the room. We all went to my mom's room. We were 10 in the house. It's a duplex. We all went to the room and we all prayed our last prayers because they said, you know what, since you guys do not want to open the gate for us, and there was a burglary proof and all of that, the minute they step in, they were going to shoot every one of us. And there were about 15 of them, young guys, but they had a mission. And to the glory of God, one interesting thing, I for one felt, you know what is even there to live for? At that age, my dad was already gone. There was even nothing to look forward to. Things were already very tough for us, even surviving, feeding, because my mom was a housewife at that time. And we all gathered together and we prayed to God. And my mom said, you know what, since they said they want to kill us, we might as well just pray and we allow God to receive us in heaven. And young me, I prayed and I said, God, well, hopefully I'll go and meet my dad in heaven. I was even excited about it. And to the glory of God, those people tried as much as possible, but they couldn't gain an entrance. And of course, the rest is history. God preserved our lives, even though we almost didn't have faith that that could happen. One other experience that I had is the fact that on the 23rd of December 1983 was one of the worst, I would describe as the worst day of my life. That was the day my dad passed on. That was 2 days to Christmas. And I remember very well that the next 10, 15 Christmas after that, we barely celebrated Christmas in my family at that time because there was really no reason to celebrate Christmas. We didn't see the need. It didn't make sense to us because it was a reminder of the fact that someone so caring, someone so loving, because his death was abrupt. He had complained. He was an editor in Daily Times at that time, and he had complained to his driver that he had a headache, that he should go to the hospital. And from the hospital, he didn't come back. So it was not something that was expected. He died in his prime, was in his mid-50s when he passed on. Now, also part of what I shared in my book, how resilient I was as a young child growing up, the path of the career. I remember when I graduated from University of Lagos, to the glory of God. Despite all odds, God made a way. This is a testament to the fact that there is nothing that God cannot do. The reality is that as children of God, sometimes we actually limit God. When we allow God to take his place in our lives, take his rightful place, we find out that you are even able to achieve much more than you ever bargained to achieve. My first job was as a youth corper in EcoBank. And I remember at that time, about 8 corpers that joined at the same time. But there was something that was very defining about me. I mentioned to a few people that were close to me then that I wanted to get to the peak of my career. I wanted to get to the board level. I'm sure people around me then thought, does she even know what she's talking about? And one of the things that also helped me as I was growing up, I had two mentors as I was growing up. The first mentor as a young child was my eldest brother, who is a medical doctor. I actually wanted to study medicine. Along the line, I got into university for zoology, but of course, I wasn't interested anymore when I got into the university, and I just felt, why would I spend 7 years on a course? Then my second mentor also inspired me to go into banking. My elder sister and my only sister, I consider as an angel in my life. She was one of the people that inspired me as well to be in the financial sector. And I remember when I joined EcoBank at that time as a young lady.
Hello, Funke. I'm sorry I'm going to interrupt you at this point. I apologize. I sincerely apologize. So hold that thought. You mentioned your only sister, and yes, she's on the platform. And please indulge me to please acknowledge Mrs. Titi Oshutoke. Thank you very much for coming on the platform. Mrs. Oshutoke also happened to be my boss at some point in my career, and I thought that I should acknowledge her. Thank you very much, Mrs. Oshutoke, for coming on this platform. You're much appreciated. Thank you, ma. Funke, you can continue.
Thank you, ma. And thank you, Dr. Tomi. Now, talking about my experience. So as a youth corper, I told myself something. I said, amongst the 8 corpers, I wanted to be the best. So what are the things I needed to do to be the best corper? Number one, I realized that I needed to go the extra mile. I'm not just going to be like every other corper. So one of the things, so I saw the avenue to go the extra mile. One of it was what we call our community days. they call it CD days then. I'm sure that's the same thing they call it now. So as a youth corper, on your CD day or your community development day, you're not meant to go to work. So what happens is you go for the community development, and then I think it ends about 2. So you are liberty to go home. Or I just thought as a young lady, I mean, I had a lot of time in my hands, and I really wanted to learn. I was very eager. I was very hungry for knowledge. That's another thing that you need as you go in your career. You need that hunger, to learn, because whatever you learn, you have it for life. Nobody can take it away from you. I always tell people, when we give people tasks and they feel, oh, this task is too much, I always encourage them that, one of the things that's helped me as I grew in my career is the fact that whenever an opportunity is given to me, I put my very best. In fact, I go to the extreme just to learn and just to be the very best in whatever is given to me. And I think that experience in EcoBank really helped. So what happened was, when it's CD day, I go for the CD. When it's 2 o'clock, I pack my clothes for office. 2 o'clock, I go to the office. I looked, everybody thought this girl must be mad. All the other coppers were going back home. In fact, they were making fun of me at that time. They said, oh, in fact, I have a colleague, fortunately he's late now. May so rest in peace. He used to call me a Efiko. Then Efiko is someone that likes to read and all of that, and someone that is very studious and very serious. So I used to just go back to the office. And funny enough, I didn't know, I knew I was doing it for a good cause. But guess what? I didn't know that my supervisor at that time took special note of it. So when it was time to do the assessment after 1 year, he did an assessment, and amongst all the coppers, according to the head of HR at that time, I was tagged the best. And he gave reasons how I'm resilient, focused, hardworking, and how I was only copper my sex. I had a sign on in the bank's platform. You had to get a special approval for that. And of course, I served in a local branch, where I call it a local branch was in the market. I didn't like it. So I also want to encourage whoever, I don't know what you're going through. You might be going through a phase in your career where you might not like the department, you might not like the location, but look beyond the department, look beyond the location, look at the essence and the benefits that you will learn, by being in that position. Because for every disadvantage, I can assure you there's an advantage. So that was what happened. I didn't like the location, but guess what? That location allowed me to learn a lot of things I probably wouldn't have learned if I was in a much better environment. That is number 3. Now, what happened? They decided that, be the best copper. No. This girl is not a local branch material. She's an head office material. And I remember that time they used to call it office London branch. So I was posted to London branch, so to speak, on I just said, but I was so excited about it. And of course, the rest is history. Foundations for growth. As a child and as an individual, and by extension as a child of God, I want to assure us and tell us that my experience, everything I've achieved in life has been by the grace of God and by prayers. I'm someone that I love to pray. I'm always praying. I love being in the presence of God. It just gives me joy. No matter what challenge I face, I just take it back to God. I'm like, God, this is not my challenge, this is your challenge. I remember when I started work as a director, when I joined the bank, before I got on the board of the bank. I joined the bank, and before then, there were a lot of negative news about that institution. And I said, one thing I like is, I like challenges. I like fixing things. I'm one person that when I get into a situation where people say, oh, this cannot be done, that is the one that inspires me the most. I want to ensure that I get it done. So I got into the bank. People were saying negative things, oh, things will not work out, blah, blah, blah. But guess what? As I was hearing those negative things, I kept on rejecting them. I said, no. That's not going to happen to me. And to the glory of God, none of those negative things happened to me. So we are a product of what you say. Be careful what you say. Be careful what you confess. It's important for us to be very deliberate about anything we do, be it your in school, be it your career, be it in marriage. You need to be very, very deliberate. And that has helped me over the years. I refuse to say negative things. I remember at some point, I had this, I won't call it a bad behavior, but I liked watching things that are like very horror, and at a point I had to take myself out of it because I found out that the more I watch those things like horror movies and all of that, um, I started thinking negatively. You know, we are moved by the things we see. The reality is that the spiritual governs the physical. So you need to guard, which is why the Bible says that you should guard your hearts, with all diligence, because out of it comes the issues of life. You need to consistently guard your heart, guard what goes in. Now, for the growth that I've experienced over the years, one of the things that also helped me is the area of mentorship. I can say categorically that I've been extremely fortunate. I've had so many fantastic leaders that have helped me, that have identified the positive qualities in me and have helped me to harness those qualities. Because the reality is this: nobody is perfect. I want to repeat it. Nobody is perfect. But guess what? What we can do, or what you can do, is to focus more on your positives, enhance those positives, and focus less on the negatives. You end up making the best out of your life, out of your career, out of your marriage, out of your future, if you do that. Now, we cannot overemphasize the issue of area of learning. We have to keep learning because leaders consistently learn. Now, there are certain principles that have helped me, that have shaped my way of life. One of it is in the area of acknowledging my limitations and embracing every opportunity as a chance to learn and improve. Now, in acknowledging my limitations also, I've learned the art of teamwork. As a leader, also remember that you have to be a good team player to be an effective leader. And note one thing: every member of your group has something significant to bring to the table. So have an open door policy, allow people to hear their views, and you also have an opportunity to even learn from them. I remember when I was growing in my career, there was this mentee that I had, very organized, very focused, and all of that. She didn't notice I was observing her. Comes to work very early in the day. She writes her to-do lists every day. She does this consistently. Now, guess what? When we hired ETs, what we did was we had to, assign her to be the mentor of all these ETs because we wanted to ensure that they imbibe good qualities from that individual. And that strategy worked wonders. So as a leader, you can also learn from your subordinates. You can learn from people that work with you. You are not a monopoly of all knowledge. Now, one other area I also wanted to mention before I go into this. I remember when I was given the task in my career to get a merchant banking license. So let me go back a bit. I had worked as a business development manager and a marketing person for upwards of about 15 years before that time. I had no clue on what project management was. I didn't know anything about project management. And here I was given that task. The first thing that I did was to seek knowledge. How did I seek knowledge? I'm sure my boss didn't even know I went that far. I had to enroll for a project management course to understand what project management is all about, to be able to speak the language of project management. And I can assure you that by so doing, that in itself significantly changed how I viewed the task that I was given to. You cannot do something effectively if you do not have the basic knowledge of it. Sometimes, in fact, not even sometimes, in life you stoop to conquer. You need to be able to, when you identify your limitations, you identify the areas that you have deficiencies, it's important for you to humble yourself and seek knowledge. When you seek knowledge, you become a superstar. That was what happened. After that task, of course, I did it to the glory of God. Successfully, I got instant promotion. Then, destined connections. This is an area that I'd just like to talk a bit about. Very, very important. We've always heard about a lot of motivational speakers. They say, oh, it's important. Whenever you marry, you must choose well, you must choose right. People will ask questions. How do I know who to marry? What do I look out for? And all of that. In my journey, I thank God that I chose, I accepted my husband's offer to be his wife. I remember when he proposed, and at that time, young lady, I was excited. First of all, okay, let me go back a bit. Before I met my husband, so I don't want to paint a story of oh, everything always you. No, it wasn't always you. Please let me know. Let me tell you the truth. Let me break it down. Before I met my husband, in my final year in university, I was dating someone and was almost we're planning to get married. Along the line, things didn't work out. We broke up. Then 7 years after, no serious relationship, no serious boyfriend, no serious toaster. In fact, it got to say I started going to a vigil every night. I said, God, who did I offend? Did I offend somebody? What is it? That's something I look at myself and I say, but I'm pretty, I'm okay, I'm good looking, I have a good career, I have a good job. What's going on? Is it that something is maybe there's you go for some pyramid, they say there's a veil covering you, there's a veil covering you. I said, what is going on? But I thank God when I met my husband, before I met my husband, because there was a 7-year gap in relationship. I had no serious, I just focused on my job. Within that period, which is the essence of seeking knowledge, I read a lot of books on relationships. I can share a few. Some are crazy books. There's this book I read, The Rules, the Rules, the RULES, The Rules. It's honestly that book, in fact, is so rigid. You shouldn't do this, you should do that, you should do this, you shouldn't do this. In fact, when you read it, I read it. That's, fantastic book. There's another book I read, because I like things that are not the normal, the regular. I like things that are dynamic, So the name of the book is even funny, but I'll say it. Date Like a Man. It's a book for young ladies that want to go into a relationship and they want to, because women are emotional, so it's important to just, broaden your mind when it comes to relationship. Have an open mind. The reality is that most people go into a relationship from day one and they're like, oh, this guy, you meet him from day one, you say you want to marry. It doesn't work that way. You need to know the person, because at the end of the day, whoever you marry will either make you or it will marry you. And the reality is, but it's also that when it comes to taking a decision, that decision that is so important, so critical, you have to be extremely deliberate about it. Now, I am very fortunate that this person that God wanted me to settle with. And one other thing I did was I put my husband to test. I'm sure if you didn't know I was putting him to test, but there's some things I did to test if this person is resilient, if this person is someone that will be able to withstand everybody has their own in the sequences, will be able to withstand all of that. And above all, I prayed to God and I had peace. And it's a decision I thank God I took, because my husband is one of my greatest cheerleaders. I remember when I when I moved to Nova Bank, I also wrote about it in my I will support you. I will make sure that life is easy for you. Nobody's going to stress you because I know you have enough stress as it is. So it's important for us as women to be very deliberate and to not only choose out of your emotions, but be very tactful about the choice of a life partner. Also all of this came by, books, watching, having mentors, having people that you look up to. I mentioned my sister earlier. I mentioned my elder brother, and I'm going to mention a few other people that have impacted in my life. And if you watch them and you watch how they have grown and the things that they've achieved, you ask yourself, how have they been able to achieve these things? As women,
I'm not sure if it's my end,
I know that
but
it's spiritual,
it's becoming. Hi, Mrs. Okoya. I don't know if it's from my end, but it's becoming a little epileptic. I don't know. I don't know if it's just me, but it goes off. It come back, then it goes off. I don't know.
Same here too. It's a bit epileptic here. So I presume it should be network issues.
Okay. Thank you.
So can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Yes, please.
So I want to check my connection. Hold on, please. I think there's an issue. Okay, I know what's going on. I've been able to get. Sorry, can you hear me? Why did I stop?
Yes, you can go and we can hear you.
Okay, I think I stopped sharing my screen, so I need to share it again. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Great. Okay. Now, okay, let me go straight to.
I think you stopped at where you mentioned about your people that have been impactful to you, your elder brother, and some other people.
Thank you, dear. Okay, yes. So we'll talk about finding the balance. Let me go straight to finding the balance because of our time. Now, there is no permanent problem. I want to repeat that. There's no permanent problem. Every problem has every problem has a solution. So what do you do? How do you ensure that you are able to work towards getting a solution? Life always throws stuff at us, and we need to ask ourselves, what do we do when we are faced with these obstacles? First and foremost, from my experience, is to rely on God, believe in God, because with Him, nothing shall be impossible. It's important to identify God's role in your life, in our lives, and allow Him to take His rightful place. Also keep in mind that every problem will eventually be solved. I talked about when my father died, when he passed on, and things were tough. It was almost impossible for us to achieve a lot of things. But through it all, God proved Himself, even beyond that which we thought would happen. I remember when, even in marriage, at some point, when we wanted to get a property, my husband and I, and we looked at our pockets, And we said, this is what we can afford. And we challenged God. And we said, God, this is what we can afford. But guess what? What we can afford is not even close to what we want. But we know we serve a God that is the maker of heaven and earth. The God we have owns the universe. So is there anything impossible with God? The answer is no. I remember again another story, very, very interesting story. 2 weeks after we got married, my husband had an attack with the thieves on his way home. And at one point, they took his car. In fact, when he got home that night, he was all screaming, oh, my car, my car, my car. And I told him, I said, the Bible says 1 will chase 1,000, 2 will chase 10,000. Me, the only thing I know from when I was 9 years old till now is, or when I was a young child till now, is prayers. And I believe that prayer works. And more so, prayer of a couple, two will do wonders. And that night we prayed. We held hands and we prayed and we said, God, this car must come back. We don't know where it is, but you know you are everywhere. We do believe that less than 3 hours after that prayer session, policeman from nowhere saw my husband's car in the car. The car was abandoned somewhere, and the rest is history. So finding balance requires navigating challenges in whatever industry you find yourself. No two people are the same. There's diversity in the institution, but it's important as leaders to embrace it when we find ourselves in that situation. The heart of mentorship. Now, I've talked about the impact of amazing mentors that I've had. The reason why I can categorically call them amazing mentors is because they were able to impact my life positively. How did they do this? They identified the positive qualities that I had. They were able to encourage me to build on those qualities, to bring out the very best in myself in terms of my character, and ensure that in all of that process, I learned that a true leader must have the heart of helping others. It's not just enough for you to be a leader, but how many people's lives have you impacted positively? Now, the influence that the mentors have taught me is that leadership is not just about personal success, but about lifting others along the way. As leaders, how many people have we lifted? I was going through an article recently that in most organizations, when you lose a staff or when a staff leaves an organization, one thing is clear to that staff. The staff would remember how you treated them more than the things that you gave them. So how do we treat people around us? This is extremely, extremely important as leaders. Now, just to mention a few of the people that have impacted my life, I have what I call mentors of faith in my spiritual life, and I also have mentors in my career. I'll start with mentors in my career. I mentioned some of them, a few of them in my book. There's a guy called Mr. Oduondufa, who was my boss when I was in UBA, STB UBA. He was also my boss in EcoBank. Very interesting story. We worked in EcoBank together, and then at some point he was in UBA, and then there was a function I went for at Mozon Center. I saw me then. I said, "Oh, okay, we're looking for people. Bring your CV." I dropped my CV. Within 48 hours, they called me, had the interview, met to Nedumelu same day, and the rest was history. Now, started working directly under him, and I had a very nasty experience. I don't want to share the experience now with a client, a customer. And that same day, I got back to the office and I said, you know what? I'm leaving banking. I'm not doing banking anymore. This is what banking is about. I'm not interested. I said, And he said, he called me to his office and he said, Funke, calm down, calm down, calm down. I know how you feel. I know you're not happy. Just take some time off. If I go home now, just go and don't do anything. I was ready to resign that day. And I was just a manager at that time. I was just ready to, count my losses and knowing that, okay, well, maybe financial sector is not meant for me. Let me move on. I didn't have a solution to the problem, but I knew that I did not want to continue on that line. And I said, no, I'm not doing banking anymore because of an ugly experience. And he said, okay, called me, spoke to me, and he encouraged me, mentored me. Every day we call, thinking, are you okay? Are you, and through that period, that is a leader. Leaders must show their subordinates or people they work with that they care. But of course, in a very professional manner. Second person to mention is Mr. Adeosun. Adeosun was my boss in EcoBank, also moved to UB at some point. Banking is like a circle, we all move around. He also became my boss in UB, and one of the things I learned from him is the art of remaining dogged in every situation that you find yourself. The third person is Abubakar Jimo. For people that know me, there's nobody that knows me very well that has not heard this particular name. I talk about him a lot. We worked together. He was my MD at Coronation Merchant Bank. He was also the MD of ADH. I still the discount house before we got the merchant banking license. Fantastic leader, fantastic boss. He has such a large heart. He's always wishing everybody well. He's someone that everybody looks up to. He's a great leader. Throughout my career, he's always been encouraging me. When I became an executive director, he would call me, mentor me, tell me what to do, how to handle board meetings. It was just, my experience with him has been phenomenal. The fourth person I'll mention is the lady. I've been mentioning guys, so everybody will be wondering, apart from my sister that I mentioned, my mentor, a lady, very efficient, very effective, go-getter, focus. She has a wonderful drive, and above all, she's extremely, extremely humble. Dr. Mrs. Toyin Sonny. She's also one of my mentors, someone I relate with almost every now and again. I'm always seeking, advice from her in my career, even in my business now, to the glory of God. Then mentors of faith. I've been very fortunate again. I've been in several parishes of Redeemed Christian Church of God. I'm a minister in Redeemed, to the glory of God. One of the mentors, Pastor Mrs. Doreen Orapo. She was my pastor in Peace Assembly before she moved on to another parish. Someone that really believes in building people. That is another attribute of a good leader. You have to build other people because you can't do it all. Then another fantastic mentor is Pastor Mrs. Kemi Onelaja, the founder of Hour of Liberty Fellowship. It's a fellowship, it's a prayer focused fellowship. I'm very active in that fellowship. I love the fellowship because all we do there, we just pray. We just love to pray. We're always praying, and God is always answering. Praise God. And then the third person is Pastor Dada. Is like a pastor. It's like a personal pastor. When I just want somebody to join hands with me, join faith with me. Because usually, I give an example of when my husband had the car incidents and how we prayed together and how God answered. So it's always good to have people that you can relate with in various aspects, on various issues. And, the Bible says that iron sharpens iron. That is the whole essence of all of this. Now, going into leadership. Now, leadership to me as an individual is not about the title. It's certainly not about the title, but it's about that personal journey that you have to undergo it. Everybody wants to get to the peak of their career, but there are some sacrifices you have to make. Nothing happens by happenstance. You have to earn it. I always tell people you have to earn it. I've been so fortunate again. I've mentored a lot of people. I have some of them in this room. I'm so excited about them. I'm happy. I see them grow. It's just, I'm so delighted. It gives me so much joy. And I can imagine how some of my mentors also feel when they see me. They're also very excited. So leadership also is about mindset and it's about action. You know, I once had a leader that was talking about execution. You must execute. You must do something. You must move. You can't just stay static. You have to be dynamic. You have to think outside the box. You have to push yourself. You have to drive yourself. And above all, you have to have a positive mindset. Because everything around us today, everything around you visually is negative. So you have to keep on encouraging yourself. Even the Bible says, and David did what? He encouraged himself. You have to consistently encourage yourself and have a positive disposition. Now, the reality again, in terms of leadership, is that people believe what they see more than what they hear. If a leader's actions do not match his words, trust erodes and integrity is lost. Now, driving growth through service. Success in business is deeply rooted in having a customer-centric mindset. You have to understand and prioritize the needs of your customers because that in itself would ensure that you grow significantly and it builds trust and long-term loyalty, even with the customers. I mean, to the glory of God, if I look at my career over the years, I've dealt with several clients from several nationalities, some local, some some that have international, other from other countries. And the reality, one thing I've learned that is consistent is the fact that you have to uphold the truth when you're dealing with clients, because the sector that I operate in is built on trust. So even if you are going through a crisis, it's always good to say it as it is, because that is what people will define you for. Avoid cutting corners. Say the truth. It might be painful at the initial stage, but at the end of the day, it will bring out the best in every circumstance. Adapting to the future. This is an area that a lot of people shy away from, but the future is here and the future has come to stay. Now, the future here I'm talking about is technology, AI. Now, you know, things are really evolving in a very fast manner. Technology is a driving force in every area, not only banking, but largely in all the sectors. And it is building efficiency. But that is what the world is all about now. Everything has to be efficiently done. So along this comes with the essence of learning consistently. I mean, AI and artificial intelligence has made it easy for us. You know, you can get tasks done. Something that ordinarily will take you maybe around 2-3 hours. Within 5 minutes, you're done. That is the essence of innovative technology. And this has come to stay, and we all have to embrace it. Now, as leaders, as individuals, we have to leave a mark. 2 days ago, I updated my LinkedIn profile, and I mentioned something about what I'm doing now, how a lot has evolved for me. And there was something that one of my mentees mentioned. I had to write it down. I was so impressed. And she said something. She said that my resilience is resilient. My resilience is resilient. She also said that my tenacity should be studied, meaning that I need to call the Harvard and the Yale and co to try and understand the driving force. Because I mentioned something, I do not take no for an answer. In talking about my mentors, I forgot to mention one other person that really inspired me. Is late right now. May his soul rest in peace, perfect peace. Herbert Wigwe. I work with him in Access Bank. And one thing I remembered about Herbert is Herbert was fearless. He's a leader that he refuses to take no for an answer. And the reality is that as leaders, you have not completed your assignment if you cannot replicate yourself in the people that work with or for you. That is the art of good leadership. A good leadership should have people that resemble him or her 100% in terms of the quality, in terms of the things they do and how they do those things. Now, this is a leader that when we go on calls, he will tell me, Funke, we are going to get that transaction done. And guess what? However way, whichever way, it gets done. So you know what that does to subordinates or people that work with you? That builds confidence. They know that you're a go-to person. You can come to you and whatever situation, whatever issue they have, it gets solved. So as young, I know I have a lot of young people in the room today. I just want to encourage us that your future begins now. You need to dream big. Your dream should be bigger than you. If your dream is not big enough, then you need to do something about that dream. That's not your dream. Your dream should inspire you to bring out the very best in you. It should be inspiring enough. It should be audacious enough. So that you know that you need beyond, of course, you have to rely on God, but God is only going to use those that are willing. You have to have a willing spirit, a willing mind. And he's going to use you. And he needs you to believe that he will do it through you. So it's not by power or might. It's not just you doing it, but you relying on God and dreaming it and bringing it to reality with that drive and that push that you have. Now, you can't afford to be lazy. In the world of today, you cannot afford to be lazy. You have to think outside the box. You have look out for opportunities out there. I remember it was just yesterday. I was talking to a tech expert, and jokingly he said something very interesting, and we both laughed about it. He said, "Do I remember?" I don't want to mention the person's name, but by the time I say it, you guys probably have an idea what I'm talking about. So do I remember a particular guy that is doing so well in the digital space, in the banking space right now? How the guy used to come to my former bank then to be seeking for jobs in terms of contracts and all of that. Today, that guy is controlling billions. It all starts from the mind. And guess what? Do not despise days of small beginnings. Because your beginning should not control how you're going to end. And your background should not keep you on the ground. So because you have a slow background or you have a challenge background does not mean that you cannot move to higher levels. It all begins with the mind. And it all begins with the drive that you have on the inside and the faith that you have in God, that God is going to make it come to pass, irrespective of the challenges that you face. Because guess what? I'm not going to lie to us. Challenges will come, and you see challenges on a daily basis. But you have to have a positive disposition, positive mindset, and look beyond the challenges and see the opportunities within those challenges. Now, success, more often than not, is usually measured by, what have you achieved, what title are you MD and all of that, and the amount of wealth you have. But the true success that we achieve in life goes beyond that. It is impacting lives. It gives so much joy. I mentioned earlier that the joy that is writing this book has given me, I cannot begin to quantify it. In less than 3 months, we have successfully impacted 200 lives through proceeds of this book. So you can imagine if I did not obey God and write this book. So every single person in your team has something valuable to offer. No matter how small their role might be, in my experience, there's nothing like a useless individual. Everyone has a unique strength and talent. It is now up to you as a leader to identify those gifts in each person and develop them. I remember not too long ago, about 3 years ago, I had a colleague that was the head of one team. And he just went to HR. I want to, this lady cannot work with me, need to sack her, blah, blah, blah. And the issue came to me. And I said, no, can I talk to the lady? He brought her to my office, had a discussion. I said, you know what, bring her to my team. I want her to work under one of my teams. Guess what? In less than 2 years, this lady became a star. Please, we should never condemn individuals. Everybody has a gift. As leaders, we should identify those gifts and help the people to develop it. In conclusion, with your mind truly focused and aligned with the counsel of the wise, you will surely reach the peak of your career or business with a crown of groundbreaking rewards. So what I'm trying to say here is you can't do it all by yourself. You have to seek the support of, seek good mentors that will guide you as you go on your journey. Because why reinvent the wheel? They've gone through that path. They'll advise you appropriately. I remember a very interesting experience I had when, in the course of my career, my MD had to go on vacation. And there are 2 EDs at that time. So the board decided that I should be the acting MD. Now, I'm going to the female issue, gender drama we normally face, women face it, which is why a lot of people feel, oh, this IWD, everybody's making noise, women this, women that, women are always making noise. But sometimes it is called for. Because in some institutions, you see men looking at women in a condescending manner, feeling that, oh, what does she know? After all, I have a wife in the house. What can she do? But guess what? I was given that task. But you know what I had to do? I had to double humble myself. And how did I achieve that? I had mentors that guided me. I said, okay, just because I'm not a natural, it doesn't come natural to me to calm down. Which is why it's important to have good people that will guide you. You know, you see me, you say, I forget, you know that I have some people that are telling me at the back, I forget, respect yourself, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. And then when I listen to them, I like the outcome because they've been there, they've seen it. So advise myself, okay, just this period, just be a fool. Don't look for any job. Don't behave like the boss. Just keep quiet. This the colleague, oh my goodness, it frustrated me. My MD was away for 2 weeks. Those 2 weeks were like 2 years. I had to keep on, I was just holding myself. And he was doing it on purpose. And guess what? As a leader, I couldn't report him to anybody because that means I failed as a leader. If you keep on reporting people, then you are not a leader. You are not. If you cannot deal with your issues, then there's a problem. So you cannot deal with it, then the person, you take it to God. What else do you do now? I took it to God. I said, okay, God, no problem. I'll keep quiet. I'll be humble. Those are the qualities of a true child of God. You have to be humble. So I took it to God and I said, God, this is the issue. What do I do? Yeah, sorry. I said, God, this is the issue. How do I handle this issue? And the next thing was that experience. Now, what do I do? So later on, the male colleague told me that he did it on purpose. He wanted to frustrate me. But guess what? Because I was humble, I didn't allow the drama to affect me. I just pretended I was happy. I couldn't report him because that means I failed as a leader. At the end of the day, the outcome was fantastic. I got a commendation letter when my MD came back, and I handled the affairs very well because there was no drama. all the indices on the business line grew significantly. So the board also commended me. So you can imagine if I decided to succumb to all the drama and everything, it would have been disaster. So on reflection, I realized that as a leader, one of the things that is crucial to your growth is what seems daunting and became natural progression, reflecting the personal and professional growth I had experienced. That position marked not just a turning point in my career, but also a testament to my maturity and growing sense of responsibility. The fact that I was able to build that level of confidence and acquire a lot of skills that I didn't have before, and acknowledge the essence of teamwork, the essence of bringing people together, essence of bringing the best out of my team members, essence of helping people, and an essence of leaving a mark. Because at the end of the day, we need to ask ourselves, how many people's lives have we impacted upon? That is the whole essence of our existence. We're not existing for ourselves alone, but I believe that together we're able to impact more lives positively, then we will have a much better and sane environment. Thank you.
Sorry, I was trying to unmute and at the same time trying to put my camera on. Okay, so thank you very much, Mrs. Okoya. In fact, I don't know what to say. Very insightful. Let me just put it in a nutshell. You know, I've been receiving so many DMs on WhatsApp and, of course, trying to catch up in the chat room on this Zoom call. But it's been an inspiring and interesting and insightful and, of course, a lot of lessons. We can't truly share personal and professional, maybe career or business or our journey in life without getting some lessons. So there would be setbacks, as we've said, but, you know, is our coming back. And that is where the resilience or the tenacity and all of those words, you know, all of those things come into play. You know, so for me, I picked up a lot of things. I know one or two people will want to speak. I don't know if they have questions for you, you know, so we'll check for hands that will be raised. So please, while I'm speaking, you can raise your hand so that we can call you if you have anything to say, comments, or questions. But for me, like I said, I picked a lot of things. I've read the book 3 times or even more, you know, but recently this year, maybe 3 times. I've had the book since last year. And the truth of the matter is that, like you said, we need mentors. We need spiritual mentors. We need mentors at work. You know, in every sphere of our life, we need people to talk to, and we need great friends, great people around us. And of course, like you said, okay, we have mentors, we have great friends, we have great colleagues, you know, but most importantly, we need a great spouse, because I've seen situations where people get married and the spouse, whether the husband or the wife, you know, everything became fantastic. So it's always good to marry well. And I've seen situations also where people got married and the husband or the wife that was seemingly doing well, issues upon issues in the marriage, of course, pulled one of the parties down, affecting the children, affecting the spouse. And, you know, so everything just goes ballistic. I don't know what word to use, but you get what I mean. So having mentors, having great people around us, marrying right are really great things. And again, from for the benefit of everybody here, I've known Funke for a long time. We're University of Lagos together. I should have read that in her bio, but it was a bit long, so I had to cut it short. So yes, I've known her, you know, for a very long time. But we became closer when we worked together in one of the financial institutions some years back. And she was heading corporate bank, I was heading private banking. And to be honest, you know, so that was when I now knew her a little bit more closer. So like I said, we've always been friends. I've known her, you know, I owned a clothing store at some point. So she would come, when my mom was there and her sister, Mrs. Oshitoki too, they would make clothes and everything. But I didn't have a close relationship with Funke until we started working together, like I said, some years back. So I can attest to the fact that, I mean, Funke is, her resilience is resilient. Her tenacity truly needs to be studied. And I saw when your mentee wrote that, I saw it on LinkedIn actually, and I laughed when I saw it yesterday or at some point. And truly, Funke has this dogged determination. So there are some things, there are some people that you relate with. They actually inspire you. Funke was at my house a week or two ago, and we're just gisting. To her, we're just gisting. But I can tell you that even the little gisting or all the things that we discussed, I could see this dogged determination. This, and again, another thing is she's very spiritual, very prayerful. And I'm sure you might have noticed even during this presentation or during this review. So dogged determination is always good. You need to have good people around you. Being a good leader doesn't just come, it's not something that just happens. So they say some things are in it, they're inborn, but there are some things that we can learn along the line as well. So it's a great book, and I really love it because I didn't know this until today, that this book, the proceeds of this book goes to education, for people, primary school, secondary school, people that can't afford an education. And of course, some of our stories always help us to think and do things to help others. So you see some people, maybe they had issues, childbirth. You see them, they have a foundation or they want to do something to help other people. You see people that have setbacks in education, maybe like Funke said, maybe one of the parents died or something and they couldn't have an education till later in life, but not in Funke's case, but I'm just giving an example. So the person thinks that I didn't have an education till I was in my teens. I know somebody that has come to speak before, maybe not on this platform, didn't know how to read and write because he couldn't afford the education, not because he wasn't bright. Now, I think it was about the age of 30 or so that he learned how to read and write. Now, this man speaks all over the place. So what am I even saying? He has been on this platform before. Actually, he doesn't live in Nigeria. He's not Nigerian. As I'm speaking, I'm trying to remember his name, but it was January last year. He was one of the people who reviewed their books. He reviewed his own book January last year. I remember very well. He has come to preach he's a preacher. He has come to preach in our church before at Trinity House. So you see, things that had happened in the past, education, and they're like, okay, no, I must ensure that other people are educated because I know what it is like not to be educated and all of those things. So very well done, Funke. I'm not about to review your book all over again because I can see a few hands raised, but I would like to brag a bit. I've bragged about it before, but I'm going to brag about it again. So for those who have the book, and if you don't have the book, please come and buy it. On page 96, my name is Dale, Tobi Oishola, so I was privileged. I was just reading. I just got to 96 and I was thinking to myself, additionally, I'm grateful for the influence of childhood friends and colleagues. In my mind, I was like, let's see the people. Just saw Zelia, I saw Zelia Moritala Mohammed, I saw Lanre Falodun, I saw Lu Bukola Eroju, I saw Malara Akinsho. I kept on reading. I saw Titi Lola Ojo. When I now saw Tomi Eshola, I said, I don't need to look at the other people. My name is there. I have impacted Funke's life in one way or the other. I'm just joking. But so again, it goes back to the fact that have good friends around you, have people who inspire you, have people who push you to do better. So Funke's life, yes, very good memoir. And all I can say is that the Lord will continue to strengthen you and you continue to be a good mentor to all of your mentees and all of those things. And even the people who mentor you as well. You've mentioned a few of them. And yes, we really appreciate them. And before I start taking questions, so that, like I said, I don't want to take too much of the time, there are 3 people who have raised their hands. But I noticed also, you've mentioned, I've been close to Funke for a bit, like I said. So I know some of our close friends and of course her family. I mentioned Mrs. Oshitoke earlier on, and I've met her brother before and he's on the platform. So Mr. Alabi, welcome. Thank you very much for joining. We appreciate you. And we thank you for all that you have done in Funke's life. Maybe I shouldn't be the one thanking you, but I should thank you really, because you've been a fantastic brother. When Funke is talking about her family, she say, my egbon, my brother, if you're Mrs. Oshutoki and all of that. So thank you very much for being, a part of her life. Family is very important. And for them to even, you can see our egbons are even on the platform. It's good for family to be supportive in whatever we do. So I just wanted to recognize him and really appreciate him for being on the platform. So we'll now take the questions or comments, and in this order, so you could just unmute. So we'll first of all take Madam Onyema, one, then we'll take Madam Abosede Ogundiran, and then Mary Tay, Madam Mary Tay. So Onyema, you can unmute and speak. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Tommy. And thank you, Mrs. Okoye. Thank you for your memoir. Thank you for writing it. And when you keep saying that you've educated or impacted 200 lives in less than 2 months, I want to tell you that you've done much more than that, because by writing a memoir, you've actually helped in our national development and evolution, because memoirs is one way to be able to enhance intergenerational knowledge transfer. And that is so powerful. And for a very long time in Nigeria, that has been lacking. But right now, we're having more people doing it. So I'm happy you're one of those people that are doing it. You have no idea what your book means to the younger generation. It inspires them. When you were growing up, I don't know what book sparked you, but I know that you had a lot of social support. But right now in Nigeria, we don't really have community and social support. So most of our children might be educated, but their minds are not really expanded. But a child coming across a book like yours could identify with it, be inspired by it, and it will help shaping their vision and their experiences, and they'll feel less alone. I'll just tell you something. When I saw your book, I felt bad. I said, oh my goodness, I shouldn't really be the one reading this book. It should be a child that is reading this book, because I know how impactful that will be to the child. And you know what? Because of busy schedule and everything, I'll lose focus on the people I'm meant to send the book to. But today I came across these children. They're those children that they lost their father, and they're lost, and they're wondering what to do, how to go about education and everything. And as I was talking to them, I told them that 2 things you need God and yourself. But I knew that they wouldn't understand what I was saying. And I just knew that they're reading your book and they seeing you, or and knowing that it's not it's a fairy tale, that it's a real life story. Somebody lost their dad, and at the end of the day, she rose to grace. That is the best gift I can ever give them. So I want you, when you're saying 200, I also want you to include the fact that you also contribute to the intergeneration knowledge transfer, and that you're helping to reshaping the minds of a lot of people and a lot of young people. Having said that, I also want to just talk about 2 things I learned from your book. I loved the way you interpreted the peculiar way, chosen generation, and how you brought up peculiar. I never looked at that peculiar that way. And I really appreciate you talking about it and expressing your understanding of peculiar. But more importantly, I really like the way you defined followership. I've never seen anybody define followership like that. That's where the question now is coming from. Where did you get that definition? What book influenced that definition? Because that definition is not a dictionary definition. It's actually an inspirational definition. Then, before you answer the question, then another thing is, maybe when next you're writing another book, we'll want more depth. You left us hanging in a lot of places. I know that you didn't want to go in depth, but you really did leave us hanging. And it would be nice to share more, because what I'm telling you, it really helps people, especially when they're going through something that is similar to what you're going through. It makes them know that they can go through it, they can navigate through it, and they can still come out stronger. So maybe when you write another book, you tell us a little bit more about some of those things that you just gave us a glimpse and then disappeared on us. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, ma'am. So we'll take the next person. Please unmute so that she will take all the questions together. Or yeah, and comment to and everything. So, Madam Abosede Ogundiran, you're next.
Hello, good afternoon, all. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is just like my name has been mentioned. I actually got this book through my MD that I gave to all the ladies in the company during the International Women's Day as a gift to every one of us. And I've met Funke before in his office when they came through the Nova and whatever. I don't want to mention the name of the company. I know Funke will be thinking, where did I know her? So I read the book. When I saw the book, I couldn't even leave it. I read the book from pali to pali and I digested. I have to call my daughter that is now she's the youngest banker. She just joined the banking, whatever. A lot of complaints. I said, this book is actually talking about you. I said, this book is actually talking about you. This is the first time I'm going to read a book of someone that is going to tell us how does he do it. Just like the first speaker said, there's some things that you need to actually open up for us in your next book. Like it was when you mentioned your sister's name, I have to go and Google and say, who is this person? And I say, okay, I see where the link actually coming from before you started reading it. I read the book actually. It was wonderful. Then I want to ask, okay, is it possible for organization to call you to come up for a conference? Maybe you come around and talk to female, not only female, to everybody in that organization, like a conference that can we call you? Is this something you can come and like the first speaker said, I'm not a younger generation, I'm above 50, but I have young people in my organization that needs to have this. I know some of the ladies in my office also have this book, but I know some of them might not even read it. When I saw the flyer on Aramide, yes, on Aramide's status. I have to quickly copy it, send it to my organization platform and say, please, guys, let's join this. The book that was given to us, let's review it together. Thank you. So the only question I'm asking is it possible to call you for conference to come and talk to us? Thank you and God bless you. Bye.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much. She would answer that. I'm sure she would come and speak to you. She's an orator from what you have seen today or heard today. So, Mary Tay, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. And good evening, Aunt Funke. So I'd like to ask, saying on behalf of me and majority of my friends that are here with us on this train, one of my best parts actually in the book is our NYSC period. Like currently that's even the stage in most of us lives now because we're coppers. And it can really get overwhelming sometimes and we really don't know what to do. I'm working for now in a bank as a copper too. But then I would like her to shed more light into it. Like I don't know what is going on in probably majority of my friends' life that they might need to know too because we might be doing one thing at a time, doing another thing, and it's really not easy for us to pinpoint what we really want to do. But then we know we're doing something that we have a future. And most especially when she spoke about having a mentor, I can really say, yes, that's really good because you will know what to do at the right time and you're not going to be doing the wrong thing when you're meant to be doing the right thing at the right time. So I want her to shed more light into what we can do, even after we are done with our youth service, what we can do, more things we can do with our time instead of doing other things that are irrelevant. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mary Tay. So 3 comments, 3 questions for Funke, but I'm going to add one more from the chat room. And the person says, how do you juggle between being a wife, a mother, a daughter, a sister, a friend, I'm adding my own jarrow, and still have a thriving career? Any key takeaways? So yeah, 4 things. So the floor is yours, ma'am.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay.
we can.
Okay, thank you very much for the comment. Okay, so the first comment is on followership. And My response to that is very, very simple. The way I've defined it is based on my experience, based on some of the institutions I've worked for and some of the great leaders I've had. I would give an example because I think I usually like giving examples to bring it home when it comes to followership. Now, you realize that for you to be an effective leader, you need to have what they call EI. EI is emotional intelligence. It's very, very important. Unfortunately, not all leaders have EI, emotional intelligence. You need this because you're dealing with people in an institution. And the truth is that the people matter. If you have the right team members, the reality is that there's nothing you cannot achieve. But if you have the people in your team and they are not in sync with you, they're not on the same page with you, they are not aligned with you, there's nothing, even if you incentivize them, the fact that they don't feel safe in that environment, you're not going to get the best out of them. I once had a boss that I learned a lot from him because he's one person that he believes that people matter. And it's so true. Now, in leadership, again, one thing I've noticed is that you need to trust people. You need to trust the people that you are bringing up. You need to trust your team members. You need to believe in their ability to do the task well. The challenge that a lot of leaders have is this issue of micromanaging people. Now, for you to build a strong followership, you yourself as the leader in itself must be someone that is highly approachable. People thrive better when they're in an environment where they can relate seamlessly with their leaders, with their bosses. If you have a boss that has a standoffish attitude, that is not receptive to ideas, it is difficult for you to get the best out of that team because people will not tell you the truth. They can't even approach you in the first place. So, which is why I define followership the way I defined it in my book as having people being on the same page with you, believing in the cause, and you as a leader accepting them the way they are, believing in them, encouraging them with the hope of bringing the best out of them so that the outputs can be profitable to not just the individuals, but to us, to the institution as well, which is the ultimate goal. Now, the other essence of followership is to ensure that you do not build a toxic environment. Now, if you build a toxic environment, it weakens the team. And once a team is weak, they cannot achieve anything. I hope I've been able to answer that question with that. Then the second question is on, okay, mention that the organization wants me to come and have a talk. I'm glad to do that. I mean, I love inspiring people, any opportunity to help, to encourage people, to explain and then show them the way in terms of my experience, what they need to do, how to navigate, what areas to focus on as individuals. I'm open. So you can see me like they say, see me in camera. Then the third question is on the NYSC. Mary, I know she's an NYSC student right now. And some of the challenges she's facing, the issue that, of course, naturally, at that stage, there are always distractions and all of that. Now, I want to tell you this, and this is a fact, and this is based on my experience. You have to avoid any form of distraction. I know it's not easy, I won't lie to you, but the easy way to go about it is to sit down and define your goals. I have a boss that says you have to write it down. Even the Bible says, what is your vision? write it down, put it on paper. Even as a copper, in this year, what are the things you want to achieve? You need to pencil it down, because whatever doesn't get measured, whatever you cannot measure, usually will not get done. You have to be able to sit down and tell yourself, this is what I want to achieve. I give an example of my experience. From day one, I said I wanted to be the very best copper in my set. And I knew it was going to cost me something. For you to be the best at what you're doing, you have to go the extra mile. You're not going to do things the way every other person is doing it. You know what they call in Nigeria, they say jara, you have to put jara, you have to add something, you have to add a sweetener to it. Then you have to be willing to learn. I think the main problem with the coppers or the young generation these days is that nobody wants to learn anything. Social media has messed things up for everybody, because you wake up today, you see one guy, he's just, he's a skip maker, and then the next minute he's buying a Prado Jeep. And you're asking yourself, well, I went to school now. I studied engineering. And my salary is just what? Which is why I said, please do not despise days of small beginnings. You're going to get there eventually, but you need to develop some skills. You need the experience. So you need to be willing to learn. So as a copper, go the extra mile. If, for example, you have a very small task, challenge your boss. That's what I used to do then. I would tell my boss, okay, this thing, I've finished the work. By 2 o'clock, I finished. Is there another thing you want me to do? By so doing, you are learning. You are learning, and anything you learn it for yourself. Nobody can take it away from you. And guess what? You are a better person. You are a better representative of yourself by so doing. So the more you learn, the more you add value to that institution. You become an asset because you have a lot that you have acquired. So seek knowledge. Now, if you are also not very fortunate to have a boss that is willing to allow you to learn, then help yourself. There's a lot you can learn read more books. Readers are leaders any day, any time. I always tell the people I mentor that the beautiful part of learning is that you can imagine if you go for an occasion, right? And somebody asks you a question, and unfortunately you don't have an answer to the question, and you have like 10 people on your table. Can you imagine how miserable you will feel for the rest of that day? So seek knowledge. Go out of your way, read books. Have this habit of reading at least one book a month. And thank God for TRI-METROPOLITAN. They're doing a fantastic job. Join TRI-METROPOLITAN group. You will consistently, you have no choice but to read. You have to read now, because there is always this book review is on a monthly basis. Dr. told me, I'm sure I'm doing a fantastic job now. I'm advertising TRI. And it has helped me as well. Because if you cannot read on your own, at least joining TRI-METROPOLITAN will force you to read, because there's a review that will be done next month. There's going to be a book. So you have to read the book for you to be able to participate effectively during the review session. Then the other thing that is also important is you should be positive-minded, have a positive disposition. People around you might say negative things. Look beyond what they are saying. Focus on your goals. Focus on the plans that you have for yourself. Ignore the negatives and remain focused. And then number 4, which is the most important. You are a copper. You know what you want to achieve. This 1 year, you cannot afford to waste it. Seek the face of God. Do not do anything by your power, because you don't even have any power. Go to God and say, God, these are my plans. These are my goals. I need you at the forefront, and I need you to help me to achieve those goals. And I can assure you that not only will you achieve the goals, you will also surpass whatever task you have put yourself to achieve. Then the fourth one is, I think that's it. Yeah, that's it.
Yes, I think that's about it.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you very much. I'm sure all our questions have been answered.
You didn't answer the last question on how you're able to juggle.
Okay, yeah. The one in the chat room, how you're able to juggle being a mom, a sister, a friend, and with your thriving career.
So sorry. I've mentioned that. I said earlier when I talked about being able to juggle all of that, honestly, you need a supportive partner. If your partner is not supportive, it's a problem, which is why you have to choose wisely. I remember at some point in my career, initially when we got married, we agreed we were going to have 2 children. So for me, we had concluded on having children. And then at some point, I think I was in coronation at that time. I just enrolled for my MBA program. And guess what? I found out I was pregnant for number 3. And I remember that it was a funny experience because during that period, of course, my husband and I discussed it, and I told him, he said, don't worry, that he's going to support me because I'd already enrolled for my MBA. I was even thinking of dropping out of the MBA at that time because of my pregnancy. But my husband said, don't worry, he will support me. He would make a lot of things easy for me. Don't want to stress me with anything. Just focus on the MBA, my work, and all of that. And he did that very well. I even came out with a distinction in my dissertation, to the glory of God. With my big stomach, I got a distinction. So what am I saying? Everything begins with your mind and having a positive, a good support system. Once you have a good support system, it makes it easy for you. So I won't say, oh, I can do it all. No, that's not true. It's teamwork, which is why marrying the right person is important. Whoever you marry will support you, will make it easy for you, will make it lighter for you. So I didn't have to drop out of my MBA class. I was able to do the MBA, and not only did I do it, I also did excellently well. I got a distinction, even with my big tummy. So with that, I was doing the work, I was going to work, I was doing everything, and it was a successful experience. So as a mother and as a worker and as a wife, the easiest thing to do is to, proud to, of course, for the younger ladies that are yet to get married, be very deliberate about who you marry so that you have a supportive team player in a husband that will support you and ensure that you're able to achieve your goals, and also have a very good support system. I remember again when I had my second child, one of my bosses, she also my mentor, I mentioned her name in my book. Isabel Onyejekwe, she was my boss in UBA. She called me at that time and said, I can get this your work. There's lots of work to be done. She just told me, madam, you have to do this work. I know you just had a baby. She congratulated me, gave me a check for my baby. I was smiling with me. The next thing he said, you need to put your house in order. So that if it means me having 2 house helps, having 3 house helps, I should just make sure you have a strong support system. That also helps. So I was very fortunate again. Although I had some not too good experiences, we all know how domestic workers, what they can do and what they cannot do. But sometimes it can be very daunting. I've had not too good experience and I've had pretty fair experiences, but in all of this, number one, critical is God. Anything you have to do as a mother, as a wife, put it before God. And you will see, God always makes a way. I am a living testament of that. Anything I do, any task I want to embark upon, the first thing I do is take it to God. I say, God, you know me, I cannot do it by myself. I need your help. And guess what? He would now tell me, direct me how to go about it, what to do. But it's a project I'm handling at the moment. God literally, Holy Spirit literally told me, do this, do this, do this. And I obeyed. And I saw, lines started falling in place for me to the glory of God. So in everything I do, I acknowledge God first. So I encourage wives, mothers, sisters, please, it is critical because you cannot be everywhere, even for your children. As mothers, sometimes I'm thinking, my daughter is in school. I hope nobody's bullying her. But I just leave it to God. I say, Father, they are your children. Take care of them. That's the best approach. And it has worked for me. And I also learned this from my mentors. Some of them are here. My sister, she's a prayer warrior, but very quiet one. She doesn't make as much noise as I make. Okay. I hope I've answered the question.
Thank you. Yes, you have. Our time is fast spent, but I can see one more hand raised and we'll take this last hand. So, Simi, Madam Simi, please unmute quickly, very quickly. We will be rounding up in another minute or two. Thank you.
All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, Ms. Okoya, for this wonderful review. I'd say I was looking at my time. I'm like, yeah, we've been here for almost 2 hours, and every bit of it was captivating, was inspiring, very insightful. I was just listening, with rapt attention. I at least I thank God I had the privilege of working with you twice. And looking at you, I've learned a whole lot. You might not know, but looking at you, I've learned so much. Even your work ethic, the way you work, the way you do your things, and also the God factor thing, loving God, putting God first in everything. That's also been very, very inspiring. Even in my own career right now, sometimes maybe there are one or two challenges, and I get to talk to you, and the way you make it so easy, and like, Muslim, we don't do this. I think it should be this way, that way, and your advice they've been so good, and it has really helped me all through my career. I want to say a big thank you to you. Your book is really inspiring. Everything. Even for the younger ones, everybody has something to learn. At every point. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. This book is really, really, really good, commendable, inspiring, and also thank you. The proceeds are going to to also empower other people, educate them as well. Thank you. Thank you for a wonderful job well done. Thank you, Mr. Kola.
Nice one, Simi. Thank you very much. So we've heard it all. And the chat room has been bursting with a lot of energy. And I've been enjoying reading all our communications there. So it's been a truly, 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 truly fantastic evening. And honestly speaking, we cannot thank Mrs. Funke Okoya enough for coming to this platform today, and most importantly, for writing this great book, which is still available at Trinity House Bookstore. It's also available on Amazon, at Latana, and a number of other bookstores in Nigeria, I think. Or is it now global?
It's global now.
It's global.
But I wanted to mention
global.
that my son is also on this platform. So just my son, Toby Lover.
Toby.
Toby Lover all the way.
Toby is in America at the moment, and Toby logged in. Oh, Toby. Oh, okay, I've seen Olua Toby Lover. Oh, and even your
And of course,
husband is on the
Mr.
platform. I
Okoya,
can see
yes,
Mr. Okoya on the platform. Your
Mhm.
husband too is here now, and your sister is still here. Oh, fantastic, fantastic. Toby, how are you? You don't have to unmute, but I've got nothing but love for you. Well done, son. Oh, fantastic, fantastic. Great stuff, great stuff. So thank you once again, everyone. We really, really do appreciate you. I mean, I always say this on the platform that without you, there can be no book club. Because so imagine a number of us on this platform this evening, from the beginning. And we're still like almost 70 of us, even after 2 solid hours. I mean, it's been a fantastic time, I can assure us, So thank you very much for logging in. Thank you very much. The truth about the matter is that this book reviews for me are not just book reviews. They are supposed to impact lives. The book club, basically, we should be reading a book a month. We've already heard that earlier, so we should be reading a book a month. It actually impacts our lives. It helps us. Reading books, very good at night before you go to bed. It makes you sleep well. It brings your energy back. We do on this platform, we do motivational books, we do leadership books. I mentioned it earlier, educational memoirs like this, lifestyle, health. We should take, we can read all the books, we can do all the work, our career can be fantastic, but without good health, where are we? So we do health talks as well. We have different doctors coming to talk to us, lifestyle, activities, things we should really be doing as we get older and even as young as we are. So, ladies and gentlemen, without much further ado, I know that we've been on this flight and we have landed safely. So thank you very much for tuning in. Again, I can't overemphasize the fact that we appreciate Mrs. Okoya coming today. I mean, everything that everybody has said is a testament to her doggedness, dogged determination, and tenacity. So, and I hope and pray that even the nuggets that we've received this evening, we'll take it back this weekend, digest it, look inwards, and I would have said from Monday, but from now, let's soar on or soar higher in our personal lives and in whatever we put our hands to do, praying that God will continue to bless the work of our hands. So once again, this is the TRI-METROPOLITAN Book Club, an initiative of Trinity House. For those who didn't log in earlier, Trinity House is a non-denominational free-flow worship center powered with a vision to changing lives, fulfilling destinies, and transforming nations. It's a church. But the book club is actually open to everyone. People usually ask about demographics and all of that. It's for male, female, Christians, Muslims, for everybody in every sphere of life. Our senior pastor in Trinity House is Pastor Ito Egodalo. We hold our services on Sundays every 9 a.m. So tomorrow, please feel free, is our Holy Communion and hymn service. Always a fantastic time in his presence. And on Wednesdays, we have our midweek service. So once again, I'd like to say a very big thank you to all of us for coming this evening, and see you next month. There's a number in the chat room. You can save that number. You can be part of the book club. Just send a WhatsApp message only, and you'll be added to the over 200, almost 300 people in the book club platform. It's not interactive, so don't fear of adding yourself to another WhatsApp group. It's just to disseminate information about the book reviews that we have on a monthly basis. So trust me on that. So once again, thank you very much for coming this evening. We look forward to seeing you next month. And take care, stay blessed. God bless you. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. Cheers.